The text from my mother arrived while I was finalizing the property tax documents for the Victorian mansion I secretly purchased 6 months ago. Emma, your sister needs space this party. She's still adjusting to her new home. Maybe next year. My name is Emma Sullivan, and at 34, I had just spent the last year anonymously buying and renovating my parents' dream home. A gorgeous Victorian mansion they'd always talked about but never could afford. The irony? They were living in it now, thinking my younger sister Alexandra had somehow managed to buy it for them. I stared at the property tax bill in my hand, due to arrive at the mansion tomorrow. It was addressed to the actual owner, me. For 6 months, I'd watched from afar as my sister took credit for my hard work, basking in our parents' endless praise and gratitude. Alexandra is so successful. They gush to anyone who would listen. Look at what she's achieved at only 28. What they didn't know was that Alexandra hadn't achieved anything. She was barely making ends meet as a part-time yoga instructor, living off our parents' constant financial support. The house purchase, the extensive renovations, the new furniture, it had all come from me, the daughter they always overlooked. I'd done it anonymously through a property management company, planning to surprise them all at party. I thought it would finally be the moment they saw me, really saw me, not just as the reliable older daughter who could help with bills but never quite measured up to Alexandra's charisma. But now, sitting in my office reading that text, something inside me snapped. 6 months of watching Alexandra take credit for my success. 6 months of her showing off her house on social media. 6 months of being pushed further into the background. It was enough. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Alexandra. Sorry, sis, but Mom and Dad need time with just me this year. You understand, right? It's been so overwhelming being their savior lol. Plus, this house has special meaning now. Special meaning. Right. I picked up my office phone and called Thomas, my property manager. Send the tax bill to the house tomorrow as planned, I said, my voice steady. And prepare the ownership disclosure documents we discussed. Are you sure? Thomas asked. Once we do this, I'm sure, I replied. It's time they learned the truth. I thought back to last year, when I'd first seen the Victorian mansion listed for sale. It was the exact house my parents had dreamed about since I was little. They'd drive by it every Sunday after church, imagining what it would be like to live there. But with Dad's teaching salary and Mom's part-time work at the library, it had always been just out of reach. I'd made it my mission to buy it for them. After 15 years of careful investing and building my own software company, I could finally afford it. The renovation took months, restoring the original hardwood floors, updating the kitchen while keeping its vintage charm, adding modern amenities while preserving the historic details. I planned to surprise them all at party, imagining their joy when they learned their dream home had come from me, not Alexandra. But my sister had somehow discovered the house was being prepared for them. Before I could reveal anything, she swooped in and took credit for the entire thing. Our parents were ecstatic, of course. Alexandra, their precious youngest, had achieved the impossible. They never once questioned how a yoga instructor could afford $1 million home. They never wondered about the extensive renovations or the new furniture. They simply accepted that their golden child had performed another miracle. I'd stayed quiet, telling myself the truth would come out at party. But now they were excluding me from the very home I bought for them. My phone buzzed one more time. Dad, this time. Emma, don't be difficult about this. Your sister has done so much for us. The least you can do is give her this time with us. Maybe focus on your work instead. That's what you're good at. That's what you're good at. The words echoed in my head, years of similar dismissals flooding back. When I made valedictorian, that's nice, dear, but did you hear Alexandra made the cheerleading squad? When I started my company, well, at least you have something to focus on while Alexandra travels and finds herself. I looked at the property tax bill again, then at the folder Thomas had prepared months ago. Inside was every document proving my ownership, every transaction, every renovation receipt. Tomorrow, it would all come out. It's time, I whispered to myself, tucking the folder into my briefcase. Tomorrow they would learn that their perfect party in their dream home had been orchestrated by the daughter they always overlooked. Tomorrow, they would understand exactly what I was good at. I picked up my phone and typed a reply to my mother's text. Don't worry about party. You're right, the house has special meaning. Tomorrow's mail will show you just how special. The next morning, I sat in my office watching the security camera feed I'd installed during renovations. At exactly 10:15 a.m., the mail truck pulled up to the Victorian mansion. I held my breath as the carrier delivered the property tax bill along with the packet Thomas had prepared. My phone started ringing almost immediately. Alexandra's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call, watching through the camera as she paced frantically on the front porch, property tax bill clutched in her hand. Within minutes, my parents' car screeched into the driveway. "Emma," my mom's voice trembled in the voicemail she left. "There must be some mistake. The property tax bill, it's in your name. Please call us immediately." I watched as they huddled in the grand foyer I'd meticulously restored, passing the documents between them. The original purchase agreement, the renovation contracts, the furniture receipts, all bearing my name or my company's. My father called next. "Princess, whatever game you're playing needs to stop. Your sister worked hard to give us this home. If you've done something," I finally answered on his third call. "Did you even look at the documents, Dad? The purchase date? The bank transfers? How did you think Alexandra afforded any of this?" Silence. "Emma," he started, his voice smaller now. "We just assumed. You assumed Alexandra had somehow managed to buy and renovate $1 million home on her yoga instructor's salary. You never once questioned it." Through the security feed, I watched my father sink into the antique armchair I carefully selected to match the home's original aesthetic. My mother stood frozen, still clutching the papers. Alexandra had disappeared upstairs. "The hardwood floors," I continued, my voice steady. "Did you know they're reclaimed from a 19th century warehouse in Boston? I spent weeks sourcing them. The kitchen counters are imported Italian marble. The light fixtures are authentic Victorian pieces I had restored. Every detail in that house was chosen by me, for you." "But why didn't you tell us?" My mother's voice cracked. "I was going to. At party, I wanted it to be a surprise. But Alexandra got there first, didn't she? And you never questioned it. Never wondered how she could afford it. Because in your eyes, she can do anything while I'm just good at work." More silence. "Emma, please," my father started. "We didn't know." "No, you didn't. You didn't know that while Alexandra was posting yoga poses on Instagram, I was building a successful company. While she was finding herself, I was finding ways to make your dreams come true. And when she took credit for all of it, you didn't even hesitate to believe her." Through the camera, I watched Alexandra creep back downstairs, her face pale. "I can explain," she said, loud enough for me to hear through the phone. "Explain what?" I asked. "How you discovered the house was being prepared for them and decided to take credit. How you've spent 6 months playing lady of the manor with my money." "You don't understand," she protested. "They were so proud of me." "And now?" I asked. "Are they still proud?" I watched my mother sink onto the grand staircase, her head in her hands. My father hadn't moved from the armchair, still staring at the documents. "The property taxes are due next week," I said calmly, "and the insurance payment the week after that. I've already notified the property management company about the change in payment arrangements." "What does that mean?" Alexandra demanded. "It means," I replied, "that if you want to keep living in my house, we need to establish some new terms. I'll be there in an hour to discuss them." I hung up, letting them sit with that reality. Through the camera, I watched them absorb the implications of what had happened. My mother had started crying. My father looked older than I'd ever seen him. Alexandra had retreated to a corner, furiously typing on her phone, probably trying to figure out how to spin this on social media. For the first time in my life, I had their full attention. The overlooked daughter, the reliable one, the one who was just good at work, had orchestrated everything. The truth was finally out, and there was no turning back. I gathered my coat and briefcase, tucking the folder containing my terms inside. It was time to show my family exactly what being good at work really meant. The drive to the Victorian mansion felt surreal. As I pulled into the circular driveway I'd had restored, I noticed all three of them waiting in the bay window. The same window where I'd spent countless evenings supervising the installation of custom stained glass. I took my time walking up the path, remembering how I personally selected each rose bush now dormant for winter. The grand front door opened before I could reach for the handle, revealing my father's ashen face. "Emma," he started, but I walked past him into the foyer. The chandelier I'd found at an antique auction in Paris cast a warm glow over the space. Alexandra stood near the stairs, arms crossed, while my mother perched nervously on the settee. "Let's talk in the study," I said, heading toward the room I'd designed specifically with my father in mind, with built-in bookshelves and a reading nook he'd always dreamed of having. They followed silently, like chastened children. Once we were all settled, I opened my briefcase and laid out 3 folders. "These are your options," I said calmly. "Option 1, you can stay in the house. But with a proper lease agreement, you'll pay fair market rent, and Alexandra will need to find her own place." Alexandra started to protest, but I held up my hand. "Option 2, you can purchase the house from me at market value, assuming you can secure financing. Option 3, you have 30 days to find alternative arrangements." "Emma, please," my mother whispered. "We're your family." "Family?" I smiled sadly. "Was I family when you excluded me from party? When you never questioned how Alexandra could afford this place? When you dismissed every achievement I've ever had?" My father leaned forward. "We were wrong, Princess. We see that now. We just. Alexandra has always needed more support, more attention." "And I didn't?" I interrupted. "I needed my parents too. I wanted your approval, your attention, your pride. But I learned to live without it. I built my own success while you were all focused on Alexandra's latest adventure." Alexandra suddenly burst into tears. "I just wanted them to be proud of me for once. You've always been the successful one, the smart one. This was my chance to be special." I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Behind the perfectly styled hair and yoga-toned body, I saw something I'd never noticed before: desperation. She'd spent so long being the special one, she didn't know how to be anything else. "You know what's ironic?" I said softly. "I bought this house because I remembered how Dad used to bring us here every Sunday, how Mom would point out the architectural details, how we'd all dream about living here someday. I wanted to make that dream come true, for all of us." My mother started crying quietly. "We've been so blind." "Yes," I agreed, "you have been. But here's option 4, one I didn't plan to offer until I saw you all today." I pulled out another folder. "We start over. You acknowledge what happened. All of it. Alexandra moves out and starts supporting herself, for real this time. And we try to build a new relationship, one based on truth and mutual respect." "And the house?" my father asked. "The house stays in my name, but you can live here, with reasonable rent. We'll have Sunday dinners here, all of us. We'll make new memories, better ones. But things will be different." Alexandra wiped her eyes. "I'm sorry, Emma. I really am. I don't know how to be like you." "I don't want you to be like me," I said. "I want you to be yourself, your real self, not this person you've been pretending to be." My parents exchanged looks, then my father stood up. To my surprise, he came over and knelt beside my chair, taking my hand in his. "We failed you, Emma. We were so busy worrying about Alexandra that we forgot to see the amazing daughter right in front of us. Can you forgive us?" I felt tears threatening but held them back. "That depends," I said. "Are you ready to really change?" They all nodded, and for the first time, I saw genuine remorse in their eyes. "Then yes, we can try. Starting with party." "You'll come?" my mother asked hopefully. "Better," I smiled. "I'll host, in my house, and we'll do it right this time." 2 weeks later, on party eve, I stood in the same foyer watching my family arrange presents under the tree. Alexandra, now living in a modest apartment and seriously pursuing her yoga teacher certification, was helping Mom hang stockings. Dad was arranging his books in the study, occasionally calling out to share an interesting passage. The house felt different now, warmer, more honest. No more pretense, no more facades. Just a family learning to see each other clearly for the first time. As I sipped my hot chocolate in the entryway, I smiled at the property tax bill still displayed prominently on the hallway table, my name clearly visible on top. Sometimes the best gifts aren't the ones wrapped in pretty paper, but the honest truths that set us free. The Victorian mansion had finally become what I'd always intended it to be, not just a house, but a home. Our home. One where every member of the family could be seen, heard, and valued for exactly who they were.